Hey y'all, I'm gonna do a quick demo here of putting together a timer, one that counts up and one that counts down. I've got my my sample scene here with some trees and some textures and things, and that's all it's got. And that's all I really need right now. But I do need to add some user interface. I'm gonna have a text here that I can put on the timer into. And then I'm gonna go ahead and create an empty to hold my game manager where I'm going to do my scripting. So I'm going to add a component to that. That's going to be a new script. GM2 is what I'm going to call it, game manager 2, because I already did one. And it's going to let me save it in assets. That's a great place for it for now. And I double click on it, and here it is. So I'm going to work with the text box. So of course I need to bring in TM Pro, and I also need to get a public TMP underscore text, timer text. And just to make sure it works, I'm going to go ahead and say in start that timer text dot text equals it works. And we'll go through and make sure that everything is nice and tied together there. And it just says new text, but I've got this red error. I told y'all I do this all the time. I just didn't tie it together. So that public variable allows me space to tie together with a game object. And that's how this object becomes what we mean when we say timer text. Okay, so we press play, try this one more time, and it says it works. So we know that things are working that far. When we're dealing with time in Unity, we've got a time element that comes from the difference between one frame and the next. So in here, I've got update, and it comes in as a float value, which is a decimal point value. So I'm going to create timer time. Maybe I'm going to, yeah, elapsed time. That's what I'm going to call it. And I'm going to set it equal to 0 to start. This goes up in the class, but not in any function. That way it's available everywhere. And in update, then I'm going to say elapsed time equals elapsed time. And notice that it's helping me right here. This time.delta time means the interval in seconds from the last frame to the current one. So it means how much time has passed since the last time this function ran. So it's going to count it up very nicely. And then I'm going to say timer text dot text equals elapsed time dot toString. All the help Visual Studio Code is giving me, very nice. And what that should do is just, it's going to be ugly because I haven't formatted it at all. But let's just see that it works. It compiles. I don't see any errors showing up down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looking pretty good. I can format that pretty easily in C#. In this toString function, I can put in quotes and 0.00, and that will tell it what format I want, which is 2 decimal places. And we'll look at the difference we got there. So there we go. I'm counting up. And I could do a thing that says, you know, if I've gone more than a max time allowed. So I'm going to say float time allowed equals, I'm just going to do 5 for now. I put that F in there to specify that I mean a float value. It's a weird little quirk of C#. So then I could say, hey, you know what? If elapsed time is greater than time allowed, then I'm going to say timer text.text equals you lose. And then we haven't really done this before, but I can say else here, move that curly brace below. And that means in all other cases. So if elapsed time is not greater than the time allowed, then this goes into the else and we get our time. So it recompiles, we press play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You lose. Pretty good, right? And then we'd be able to do whatever we want to do with that loss condition. Now it is possible that we would rather count down, in which case we could use these same ideas and we could say, instead of elapsed time, printing out elapsed time, we're going to print out time allowed minus, well, let's actually calculate this. Remaining time, we need a type variable type, float remaining time equals time allowed minus elapsed time. If remaining time is less than or equal to, I don't necessarily need to do it this way, but it's all right, 0, then it's going to be you lose. Otherwise, we're going to take that remaining time and we're going to show that value instead. So this is just going to show it counting down instead of counting up. If you decided you wanted to go into minutes, we see that's working now. 2, 1, 0, you lose. And there we've got a timer that's going to be give us a lose condition at the end. You could do some work on a trigger to turn that off, whatever you need. But that's how a timer would work. If you wanted to work with minutes here and go over 60 seconds or whatever, then you'd have to go into some math to start calculating minutes versus seconds and so on. This time, delta time, is always based on seconds. So everything else, everything beyond that is up to some math and probably some additional variables and tacking strings together and things like that. But for now, we have ourselves a working timer.